All right, well, it's been a big couple weeks for Inappropriate Earl. We've had some interesting guests. One-time talent coordinator at the Comedy Store, the great Tommy Morris, two of the highest-rated episodes ever on Inappropriate Earl, and the genesis for my character on the show Roast Battle. A lot of people ask me if my character was based on Tommy Morris. I don't know what would give them that idea when my name on the show is Mommy Taurus, but a lot of people out there aren't too bright. So, but today, and Brian Redband, he was a nice, what they call tweener episode in between the 4-hour Tommy Morris episode. Part 3 coming, but we're going to get into some real dark territory, if you know what I mean. And I mean dark. Roots, Django and Chain dark. But today we have one of the nicest dudes in LA comedy. And there ain't many in this fucking business. It's full of just jackals, palmers, bullshitters, real high-end Gary Gladhanders. But this guy's one of the young rising stars on the scene. You can see him at the Comedy Store hosting mini nights and performing. You could see him Saturday nights at the Midnight Snack Comedy Show. He was in Montreal this year doing double duty on the goddamn Comedy Jam and the Jeff Ross Roast Invitational, or whatever the hell they were calling that show. And he's really going to be a big player in this business. Big. Put your dirty, unproductive hands together for the one, the only, Mr. Jeremiah Watkins.
Yeah, get ready for your ratings to plummet, Earl.
Oh yeah, this episode,
following Tommy and Redband.
This episode's going to be so poorly rated, it's going to get its own hour on Spike TV.
They're going to ask for parts half and parts quarter.
So that's the podcast, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Catch Earl and I every Tuesday at Roast Battle.
And catch Jeremiah all over the place. Literally all over the place. Now, you are one of the young guns of comedy. How did you get your start?
Got my start. I started off doing improv, actually, and then I started doing stand-up. I was doing improv back in Kansas City, and then whenever I got to Los Angeles, this is the only podcast I feel like I can walk around while.
Many people do.
Yeah, they do.
Tommy liked to anchor on the couch. The great Sam Hoger and I spent the whole podcast standing. Inappropriate Earl first. Stephen Piercy, a singer from Rat, just chewed gum the whole time. Real good for the acoustics. People are like, Earl, that was a great episode, but I think you need to adjust your levels. No, I need the guest to put the fucking gum out of his mouth.
Got some real pros on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. I
Earl.
get the best of the best who live within a mile. It's not easy. Do you have your own podcast?
Yeah, it's hard to get guests.
What is it called?
It's called The Building Years. And I do that with Justin Alexio, a good buddy of mine who met doing improv out here, and we were both improvisers and stand-up comedians, and yeah, we eventually formed a podcast. Earl's been on it.
Yeah, he might be the worst co-host I've ever been in the business with.
Earl's relationship with Justin on the podcast was hilarious because Justin, for that particular episode, it was mainly Earl and I talking, and Justin would chime in every once in a while, and Earl would just shoot him down every single time he chimed in.
Well, he reminds me of a guy who went on the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson version, which is the only Tonight Show, and I forgot. This guest, old school comic like Don Rickles, Dean Martin era, and he looked at Carson and goes, "You ever feel like you're a brown pair of shoes on a tuxedo?" That's Justin. Good guy though. Should quit the business though. Only industry that guy will be in is the food industry. Hey-o. Right now I'm turning into Jeff Ross and Hinchcliffe. I'm the best. Just kidding. Tony, kill Tony every Monday night with Red Band. And,
I love how you tear people down and then you give them great plugs afterwards. But great guy, though. And you can actually see them every Monday at the Comedy Store. Yeah.
Erica Ligney might shoot up the Comedy Store one night. Great set, Eric. Earl, I haven't gone up in 3 months. Don't care.
Next one.
Yeah. And the other guy we were talking about, I didn't want to mention his name because I think he listens. Listen, it's great. You know, that's what amazes me about you in this business is you're like so nice and so like, you know, almost have like a Gilligan from Gilligan's Island personality. Like everything's great. Montreal, we were all, you know, in various states of mind, and you're like, yeah, hey, man.
That's the only way I know how to handle it out here, man. Because it's so there's so many ups and downs to this business, and it's so easy to get in a dark place real quick. I mean, you've been through it at the Comedy Store, you know.
Oh yeah,
your ups and downs there, and you know, eventually getting past and all that stuff. That's like a small example, but you just have to stay positive. Otherwise, it's people don't want to work with somebody who's negative. That's what I feel like anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. I think people see us on stage and go, "Oh wow, what fun this business is," and it's about as fun as getting an HIV result. You know, a lot of behind the scenes bullshit. And, you know, I approach it from a different way. Jeremiah approaches it, and probably the way you should. But that's why you're probably more successful than I am.
Well, what's your approach?
Just to laugh it off through negativity. And I mean, who would want to do the house racist character for more than 2 weeks? I've done it for 2 years now. Everyone who's been my partner in that has left. Whitney was there for about eight months, you know, and then it's so much pressure.
Dude, we're going to get a lot of pressure for you to bring it every single week.
Well, it's you have to, but you guys have pressure too. Like even and now for those of you who don't know, roast battle Tuesday nights about midnight. So plan on a 1 a.m. start, 37 undercards, and then a main event, which is like going on last in a gangbang at that point. And Jeremiah is the leader of the Negro Wave, which is crazy because you're like the whitest guy I know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But you're the only one who could lead that section. I mean, I think people thought when Jamar Neighbors, who was like LeVar Burton black in Roots. I mean, you can't get any blacker. If there was the opposite of an albino, that's Jamar. I mean, he's like the Predator. He's like, he stares at you. You think you're going to have 3 dots on your chest. And he left the show, kind of.
Yeah, he comes back every once in a while to play.
But he was like the leader, I guess, of the Negro Wave.
Yeah. I would say so for a while. It's funny how the hater section has kind of evolved over the years with different people. There's been so many different incarnations of the Negro Wave.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it first started, Jack Knight was in it.
Yeah, Jack Knight, Valentina McCoy, Keith Soul. We had a girl for a little bit.
Not that clown girl. Jesus Christ. Oh my God! If she was at the Holocaust, I would have jumped into the ovens on my own. Oh my God! And someone's telling her she's doing well. I don't know who that is. I'm assuming it might be Jamar because he's probably pounding her, but you know, it ain't pretty. She could turn the hottest room into an icicle.
Well, the thing about the wave is whenever people sometimes guest with us or whatever, they don't realize that you have to get off the stage just as fast as you get on the stage. You can't linger, otherwise the joke dies immediately, because then it starts holding up the battle, and then it's not accenting it, it's actually holding back the people who are battling.
And you also, it's amazing. I don't think people realize this about the wave. It's amazing timing. Like you have to. Like if someone bombs, you got to get on that stage right away.
Yeah.
Or it does well and you want to like accentuate the punchline, or, you know, you just don't go, let's go up there now. You know, and there's like 5 of you. So you have to all 5 in unison, you know, get up there.
Yeah, it was interesting in Montreal. So I'd worked with Jesus Trejo, who did the wave with me in Montreal, as well as Ed Larson. But the three of us had never worked together. So the way we did it in Montreal was whenever the joke would hit that we thought, I literally like tap them on the knees and then we'd go for it, because there's no time to like look or anything. It's got to be that quick where it's in an instant, especially when we're running upstairs, how it was in Montreal. And we actually had to run up onto a stage. The belly room is the most convenient place that we've done it for the wave, just because it's like 2 steps and then we're on stage.
Well, I mean, Montreal was just a real yuck fest. I mean, the show started at midnight. Everyone in there's industry, like the industry, not like some junior agent at, Snooky Jones management company.
Oh, I used to be repped by that.
Yeah, I was repped by the Bobby Ball agency.
I was at one time too.
Yeah, and then
that's where Earl and I are at.
I mean, I found better success paying for the breakdowns and roughing it on my own.
You know what's funny is they're so unorganized. Not to talk crap on them, they're so unorganized. They still email me like I'm one of their clients, and I haven't been one of their clients in 3 years.
I know, the Bobby Ball agency. You can catch their star client in a non-union student commercial. Real Palmers. But I mean, Montreal was fun. A lot of pressure though.
A lot of pressure.
I mean, literally for those of you who don't know what the Montreal Just for Laughs Festival is, it's every big agent, manager, anyone, producer, director, it has anything to do with comedy is there.
I would say for people who aren't familiar with it, maybe, would you agree with this is like the Oscars for comedy? Kind of?
Yeah. It's like the Super Bowl.
It's like everybody's there. Like everybody was in town who was like a big name, it felt like, at least.
Yeah, and you've got like huge headliners who are like doing small theater shows because the big theaters are taken by the Dave Chappelle's, the Rob Schneiders, the
Bill Burr. One saw him.
Bill Burr and Bert Kreischer, and then they would all come watch our show
at the end of the night
because we were the last show every night. And it was a lot of pressure. I mean, when you're staring at Dave Chappelle and he's looking at you like, all right, say something funny. Or you guys do or say something funny.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ, I hope this doesn't bomb.
Yeah, we had, I think on the final couple nights of the weekend, we had cast members from Silicon Valley, Saturday Night Live, the new X-Men movie. It was crazy.
Yeah, Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, he was like sitting in the second row. It was nuts.
Aaron Rodgers.
We actually got a little bit of whipped cream or something on Fassbender.
I'm sure that's not the only white stuff he saw that weekend.
Hey-o.
You've got like, Moses came up to me before the last night. He said, dude, Aaron Rodgers is going to be sitting by your table. Give him some grief. And I think, all right, I bombed in front of Aaron Rodgers, but that's the thing you do. I mean, our characters are very similar. It's high risk, high reward, and sometimes no reward.
I think one of my favorite things that Earl and I do at Roast Battle every week is we'll look over. We're directly across from each other. And if we both know that we just bombed on something, it's one of the funniest things.
Well, I mean, because especially in the belly room, if you bomb in the belly room, it's just awful.
Yeah, well, it's so intimate in there that you just feel it.
There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It's a lyric from the Desmond Child song off the Warrior soundtrack. Pick it up on Amazon. You can get new and used copies starting at $20. But, because it's standing room only in there.
Yeah.
But when a joke hits, it's great. Like when you guys did the pillowcases and the cotton, and Haiti probably thought he was back in Africa. It was like killing. So, come see Roast Battle. If you haven't seen it, I know I talk a lot on the show. To see Jeremiah and the Negro Wave and the celebrity judges and just the most cutting jokes. It's not for the weak.
Yeah, it gets brutal.
I mean,
And then on top of that, whenever it's a brutal joke, we heighten it by going crazy on stage.
I mean, dead brother jokes. Retarded sisters, balding, fat. Kenny Lyons, who
making fun of people who used to be suicidal.
I mean, this one comic, Kenny Lyons, was molested by his brother, and his guy he was roasting was making jokes about it. I mean, it's really it's not the Dean Martin roast I grew up with. I'll tell you that much. Where Sammy Davis. Or Don Rickles looked down at Sammy Davis and said, "You're either black or you fell in a bucket of M&Ms." That would be like the tamest joke at roast battle. Yep. So, but it's a great. I tell you, I've done comedy for 16 years. I've never seen a show last this long. That's this crowded.
I
every
agree.
week.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I mean, like even when it's an off week, crowd wise, it's still packed.
Mm-hmm.
So, big things coming for all of us or some of us. I mean, I know how this show works. The weak get left behind. But Sundance Film Festival coming up, the great Jason Reitman leading the charge, and then LA Riot Fest coming soon. Details. I mean, I've only been on the show for 2 years. I don't know anything.
That's how I always feel. Earl and I are always asking each other, Did you hear about this? Because nobody just said anything to me. I think people just assume that we know because we're there every week.
Well, I think that's what someone told us at the Comedy Store the other night.
Yeah.
Like, oh, just people. You guys are such stalwarts on the show. You must know everything. Guess what? We know nothing. But, we still love the show. I mean, I've wanted to quit the show several times because I just can't take this craziness behind the scenes. And, then... the next week it's like the most amazing show, and you're like, all right, I'll stay on.
Yeah, so. That's how it goes, dude. It's hard. It's hard to come up with new stuff too for the wave.
You guys bring in new props every week. It's not like you just have like 4 props and you rotate them in. You guys, like last week, brought a fucking truck tire in.
I was pretty proud of the stuff I brought in last week. A tire, a giant pillow to rip apart to do a pillow fight. Random stuff from I get a lot of stuff from the 99-cent store.
Oh yeah, why? I mean, I'm still $3,000 in the hole from New York. I mean, I'd have to get points on the back end to make up for what this show's cost me. I mean, I brought 3 black bobbleheads, 2 Adidas shoes that had a gorilla on them. I won't. Never mind. I'll just leave it at that. I think you can go where that joke went, and So, but it's a great show. But I think it's fun for both of us because it's so out of our characters to be involved in such a wacky show. Probably more your character. I mean, you're so nice and happy, and I mean that as a compliment. I would say roast battle might fit my personality a little more because I don't need any more friends in my life. If you're not a friend of mine, it means I didn't want you in the first place.
Yeah, I literally asked Earl over. I was having like a small birthday get together. And I texted Earl. I was like, hey man, I have a few people over. Yeah, it's like from this time to this time. You want to come over? He's like, is there any gash there? I was like, oh no. Dick City. He's like, see you later.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow on the podcast.
I mean, the last thing I want to do is, I love you, dude. You're one of my favorite people in comedy, but last thing I want to do is hang out with a bunch of knuckle draggers, palming, talking about the open mic they just bombed at in Silver Lake. No thanks. Been there, done it, bombed 10 years before you did there, buddy. So suck it. Now, if there's some tuna there, I might come in on the sly. Because I got this cologne that drives chicks crazy.
What's the name of your cologne?
Can't give it away.
All right.
Because then every potlucker will be scrubbing.
They'll smell the same way that you
They'll
do.
be scrubbing their pennies together to go to Ben at Barney's and say, what does Skakel get? Guess what? You could save up for 10 years and not afford it. So don't worry about it. Keep smelling like shit. And then I just slide in. All right, let's get back to your comment.
We find out later it's Drakkar.
Yeah. It's Dolce & Gabbana.
It's Nautica.
And yeah, go to Bloomingdale's and pick up the travel size of Nautica, you greasy palmers.
If that has a ship on it, buy it.
Yeah, if it's got some good-looking fag in a yacht outfit, just take care of it. That might be the first time I've ever said the F word on this podcast. Sorry, guys. I live in West Hollywood, so don't worry about it. All right. Now, let's get into your stand-up. Now, you recently had a great set showcasing for the Comedy Store. Is that like your number one, not number one dream, but, for some reason, the Comedy Store, there's great clubs out here. Improv, Laugh Factory, Ice House, Hermosa Magic Club, which is like unbelievable to play. But for some reason, the Comedy Store is like, I don't know, it just seems like that's where everyone wants to be in.
I'm drawn to it for sure.
It does have an energy.
Yeah. It has an energy unlike any other club I've played, definitely.
And I don't know what it is. I've been coming there I had to quit. I went there in 2000 originally, and I saw Brody Stevens make someone cry at the open mic. And looking back now, it was pretty funny what he said. But back then, I was like, maybe this place isn't for me. And, basically some open mic or bombed for 5 minutes, which is fine. I mean, potluck, that's a rough crowd. And Brody's like, where are you from? And the guy's like, San Diego. He's like, well, that drive just got a lot longer. And it's like, maybe this place isn't for me. But then about 2009, I started coming back. It was like, wow, this place I got to get in here.
Yeah, I started going there in the summer of 2011, and I haven't, other than being out of town, I haven't missed a week since.
Yeah,
for years I went almost every single night, and then I got a little bit busier with shows and stuff over the years, but I still try to go there multiple times a week because it's my favorite club.
Well, you're smart because a lot of comics, they just don't go anywhere but there.
Yeah, well, what was this is where my optimism, the half glass full kind of thing comes into. So I showcased at the Comedy Store last year as well, with Earl, Candace, Sandro, and Kyle Ray. And Earl and Candace got passed, which I was super happy for them. But it's always one of those things where you hope to get past. But I could have taken it negatively, but the way I looked at it was, I just got to work harder and I got to go more places. So in this last year, I took, a couple eggs out of that basket and I started doing more alt mics and alt shows and stuff like that. And people have told me that they've taken a notice that I've been going more places, and I feel like it has it's made me a better comedian. And I recently showcased again at the store. I felt amazing about the set that I did, and I didn't get passed again. And it's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, I'm going to take a few more eggs out of that basket and even go even more places and work even harder and, eventually get it.
But it's a matter of time for you. I mean, it just, I'm not sure what goes on to getting past there, what people look for, but you had a great set. So, it's, I was up there, been doing comedy for basically 15 years. And not to say it takes 15 years to get past there, but I understand the frustration or whatever, disappointment for sure. But it really is a matter of time for you. And that's, you've got the right mindset.
Yeah. I mean, you can get bitter or whatever, but it's just one of those things. And, so our buddy Sandro Yocolano, he got passed this round. It's not like somebody got passed over me that I'm like, oh, this person isn't funny. Sandro's hilarious. It's not like with you and Candace, you guys are hilarious. I love all you guys. So it's not like coming from a place where it's like, oh, why are these unfunny people getting passed over me? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, all right. It's not my turn yet.
I mean, that was my feeling with Tommy at the end. I was like, I would do shows with people he was either about to pass or had already passed. And it's like, Jesus Christ, what's going on? I mean, what does it take to get passed up here?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And I know nothing against Tommy. I mean, I wouldn't say we're friends, but I guess we're on a better brainwave than we were a couple weeks ago. And, I mean, I will say this about Adam, that I think he's a little more straightforward. Like,
which I appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, like, Tommy would with me would encourage me to keep performing, and I know he never was going to pass me. So it's just,
there's a little bit more mind games for sure.
But I just think that's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
But you were in with him, so I don't like.
It was interesting. I mean, Tommy was he was very good to me. He gave me a lot of stage time, but I mean, he still played the mind games with me just as much as he did other people. Where I would just like a lot of people be waiting around all night to go up, and then I'd look on the list and my name's not even on it after we've already talked. And then I eventually would just walk up to his office and be like, "Hey man, you told me I was on the list. I'm not." And he's like, "Oh yeah, go after so and so." I'm like, "All right." And I go up around 1:45 or after 2, depending on where I was. But yeah, I did late night there for about 2.5 years straight because he specifically wanted me to do that, and it made me a better comic. It sucked, but I mean, you've done late night for years as well.
I mean, I was, but I wasn't really doing stand up. The thing, I mean, I would do the late night thing with Don Barris, which I love. I mean, Don's like the legend of late night there. I mean, I don't think there's another comic in the world who could.
Oh yeah.
Capture the late night essence and keep it going, like Don. But I was doing like the band thing with him, and
right. Yeah, you saw me go up a lot doing stand up late night, and after Don would do the craziest stuff, and then I'd be like, "All right, let me do my 5 minutes."
Yeah, which is crazy. If you've never been in the OR late night, I've seen every A-room comic in the world bomb there. I mean, and I'm talking the name of the names, because it's a dark room.
Yeah,
and you're. Especially when you're like me and Jeremiah, like I don't know, not undiscovered, but like unheralded at the moment. A couple years ago, both of us. You're following some guy who whipped his dick out.
Yeah,
and that's usually me. To be honest,
Earl does a spot-on Buffalo Bill impression. If you've never seen it.
Oh wait, is she a great big fat person? That's my number one goal. I have a new thing on this podcast where after the 100th episode, I want to get celebrities on and interview them as their most famous character the whole time. Like I want to get Ted Levine, who played Buffalo Bill, and this is where you would go, I know I could get him if I just asked me. I'm like, he'd never come on this show and interview him the whole time as Buffalo Bill.
I think he would do it.
It's crazy enough.
It's crazy. Yeah.
You have a podcast that I love doing. I really had a fun time on it, and you're a great host. And then I want to get Christian Bale. Now that might be a tough get, but
you want him to do the whole Batman?
No, even better. Because to me, Christian Bale's maybe the best
American Psycho.
Yeah, I want him to do the whole thing as Patrick Bateman.
All right.
So, Mr. Bateman, thanks for coming on Inappropriate, Earl. What's up? I work at Pierce & Pierce. I use an oxygen mask with little to no alcohol. Just the whole time, dude. So, but that's after episode 100. I got 6 more to go, so I got some time. Back to you. So, what I like what you've done with your comedy career is a lot of comics I saw and see to this day who want to get into the Comedy Store, but varying degrees of success. You went out and created your own stuff, which is making you more marketable to the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people should do. It's something that I didn't do, to be honest with you. Like, you've got the goddamn Comedy Jam. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the goddamn Comedy Jam. If you're not familiar with that show, it's hosted and created by my buddy Josh Adam Myers, and comedians, they'll do a set, then they tell a story, and then they will sing a song with a live band behind them and do that. And it's awesome. You get to see comedians be rock stars. That's like the whole thing with it. It's like every comedian's dream to be a musician a lot of times. Like musicians, it's weird. Musicians want to be comedians a lot of times, and comedians want to be musicians. That happens quite a bit. But with that show, it's a lot of fun. I play this character on the show, Mosh Pit, and it's basically just my impression of Josh Adam Meyers.
I mean, Josh Adam Meyers does an impression of Josh Adam Meyers.
yeah. So I play this roadie character on the show. I will hype up the crowd at the beginning, get them going, and then me and Johnny Scortis, he plays another roadie character, Razorblade, on the show. We'll keep it going, and we'll riff with Josh between the comics, and then if it's a song that calls for it, I'll play saxophone. I play alto saxophone, and I'll hop in with the band and play sax. And we went to Montreal, like Earl said earlier in the year, and we were just at the New York Comedy Festival, and a bunch of festivals coming up in 2016 that I'm excited about. I think I can say it. We're going to be at Bonnaroo.
And where's that?
In 2016. It's a huge music festival in, I think, Tennessee, is it? I'm not sure. Not 100% sure. But like Elton John and Paul McCartney have played Bonnaroo and stuff like that. It's like a big music festival.
Oh yeah, Elton John. Who knew he was gay?
I don't know.
It's crazy.
But yeah, it's super fun they've had most of the big names in comedy over the. I've been with the show. I want to say 9 months, maybe 8 or 9 months, and before and since I've been with the show, they've had some of the biggest names in comedy: Bill Burr, Hannibal Buress. Tonight we're having Sarah Silverman on.
That's crazy. Like you have Bill Burr like singing "Welcome to the Jungle."
Yeah, like he plays drums every time, and he'll dress up as different drummers, like Steven Adler and different guys like that, and it's awesome. Marin played guitar and he sang whenever he did it, and it's awesome. It's super fun to see comedians really let loose and sing, because if they're good or they're bad, whatever, it's just a fun show. It feels like it's as close of an energy. It's very different from roast battle, but it's as close of an energy, but in a different way as far as high energy that I've seen to the other shows in LA.
Yeah, and so that's like for all you young comics and all you old leatherneckers out there, create your own shit so you don't have to rely on a club, any club. I mean, Jeremiah's got Roast Battle. He's got the goddamn Comedy Jam. You've got, your music with Pat Regan.
Yeah.
Reagan. I don't know why I always want to call him
Everybody wants to call him Regan.
And it's spelled Reagan.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, because Pat Reagan, one of the truly, I don't say this a lot, he's a great comic / musician, and you recently, is it a recent collaboration or?
It's been within this last year. We, because we're both very busy independently from each other. He does his music and comedy, and I do my stand-up along with these other shows, and he and we just started collaborating, working on songs and stuff, and we've now got about 15 to 20 minutes worth of songs, and we're trying to incorporate it more and more all the time, and we've started performing at a lot of different venues, basically as a comedy duo. And that's just like another side project that we have in the mix of things, just to mix it up, because a lot of times people will book us on a show separate from each other, and then it's almost a good excuse, like, oh, well, I've had Pat Reagan individually, and I've had Jeremiah do his stand-up on the show, but we haven't had Reagan and Watkins together, so it's just like another way to get booked around town.
But you're really good on the sax.
Thank you. Yeah, I started off in grade school and been playing for years. I kind of took a break in college where it just kind of sat in my room, but yeah, brought it back out to LA, and just it's kind of funny in this last year, like if you are on my Facebook or whatever or online, the amount of saxophone pictures that I have and me with my sax in the last year, it's crazy because basically somebody wanted me to do a bit with them for my saxophone, and then somebody else found out that I did sax, and I just started playing on shows like Midnight Snack and with Pat, and now I play multiple times a week in the goddamn Comedy Jam. So,
well, I must say, and this is somewhat unrelated, but probably the coolest concert going visual I've ever seen to this day, and I've been to like hundreds of concerts. I mean, I'm no Dean Del Rey, but I've been to hundreds of concerts.
Yeah.
Was when Springsteen and Clarence Clemens, at the end of the Thunder Road song, Clarence does an amazing solo, and Bruce slides across the stage, and they kiss on the lips, and it. Like anyone else does that, you're like, wow, these guys are bone smokers. But it was just, that's how good of friends they were. Like you didn't think it was gay at all. Mm-hmm. And then I jacked off in the colonnade. So that was probably gayer than the actual kiss. Do you have like like Clarence Clemens to me is like, just, rest in peace, but goddamn, could that guy play? Do you have like a saxophonist, like a David Sanborn you look up to, or is just...
Not really. I'm a big fan of the 80s era where they use saxophone. Oh, I know that about you, Earl. Oh, Kiss, Vinnie Vincent.
I'll always work in a Vinnie Vincent invasion. Rats, the odds of Rat touring again with the 4 original members are about as good as Scott Weiland joining the new Velvet Revolver album. Ain't happening. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so I don't have necessarily a specific saxophone player that I look up to, but it's funny. They're starting to use it almost like as a throwback in some current pop songs and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting. But
yeah, I mean, I liked how Lady Gaga, who I actually kind of like, very 80s, totally ripping off Dale Bozio, Missing Persons. Thank you very much. She used Clarence like in her video for her, what was her first big hit? It's like her big, huge hit. She put him in the video, and then I think at the MTV Awards, they rolled Clarence out. He wasn't in the best condition at that time. I mean, they just like, let's get him in here. And then a week later, he's dead. So,
yeah,
thank you, Clarence Clemens, for a nice career. I think he had like 8 kids by 9 different wives. I'm still not sure how that's possible, but,
Hey, he was good at using his mouth.
Oh my God, he looked like he had a huge dick. I mean, if you look at some of those Springsteen videos, look at the Born to Run live video, and he's wearing this all red outfit, and there's like the bulge in his pants is unbelievable. I mean,
speaking of dicks, the dick pics that I've seen the most, number 1 goes to Earl Skakel. Number 2 goes to Jamar Neighbors. I've seen your guys' dick pics.
We should put his in the number 1 slot, but I mean, if I'm even close to that guy's dick, it's a win-win.
Last night we were talking about your dick, and he was just saying how big it was. So hats off to you, Earl.
Well, I mean, it's not good when my dick pic is more known than my stand-up. I mean, that's what I love about Roast Battle, getting back to that just for 2 seconds. I think the show had hit a lull 2 weeks ago. So Thomas Dale said, well, I want to see your dick pic. And I whipped it out and showed it to the judges, including Jason Reitman, who tried to look away, but I basically shoved my phone in his face. Now, here's one of the biggest directors in Hollywood, the hottest director going right now. He's got a TV show on Hulu. Thank You for Not Smoking. Was it not Fargo? Juno, was it?
Yeah.
And his dad's a legend. I mean, his dad, my God.
Yeah, Ivan Reitman, man.
What a thing to live up to. Your dad is Ivan Reitman, and you have to like live up to that. It's like, I remember Wayne Gretzky had a brother who played hockey. It was like, sorry, dude. But Jason's living up to it. And this is very bizarre to show my dick pic to someone of that stature in the business. And he just looks at me and goes, nice dick, dude. Hey, Jason, you want to look at my stand-up next? So there's another bridge I've burned. But hey, it's Hollywood. I do it for the laughs, just for laughs. I'm auditioning next year for Middle-Aged Faces of Montebello. I'm starting to think New Faces might not be happening for me. But I'm still waiting on a call back for the Kilborn show, which has been off the air since '07. So there you go. Now this is another show you have going on. See, you comics out there could learn a lot from Jeremiah, because this business will turn you bitter, angry, vengeful, hateful. Always say hello to every comic at the clubs you're at, because you never know who's going to lose it. Forget about ISIS. The next mass shooting could be happening at Sal's Comedy Hole. But there's no crowds there, so probably
it wouldn't be mass.
They're probably mass, two at Dante's shit show on Monday nights. He had a contest once, funniest comic in LA, held in Canoga Park, which I'm not sure how that's possible. And he had a guy in the 2 year and under category who'd been doing comedy longer than I have, like 24 years. So welcome to Hollywood. But you've basically got your mitts in 3 shows, 3 successful shows. So all you ham and eggers out there, listen to this guy. Because out of all the guests I've had on this show, he's probably the one who's going to help elevate your own careers out of playing Marty's for $5 a pop. Stand Up on the Spot. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Stand Up on the Spot is my baby. That show I've been doing the longest. I'm the host and the creator of that show. I've been doing that show for over 5 years now. And with that show, comics go on stage with no prepared material. They ask the audience for suggestions, and then they have to create stand-up on the spot based off the audience suggestions. So it's the most pure improvised stand-up combination that there is.
And I loved it.
You've done it a couple times.
But the first night I did it, I was petrified because
it's scary, man.
You can't fall into your old material, or a joke that works, because you don't know what the crowd's going to say. I think someone yelled out mullet for me, and I'm like, I don't have one joke on mullets, so you have to think super fast.
Yeah, you literally are, the wheels start turning, and you're hoping that something good is going to come out of your mouth.
And then usually you got some guy trying to one up you from the crowd, and he'll give you something that it's so bizarre to talk about. It's usually a friend of mine trying to sandbag me. Hey, Earl, diarrhea. And then you have to go into a diarrhea joke while people are eating their chicken tenders.
I always tell comics that they can filter through if the suggestions aren't quite up to par, because every once in a while you'll get some dumb audiences that it's just like diarrhea, rape, traffic, and it's like, all right, let's keep them coming, guys. Nobody wants to hear a diarrhea rape joke right now.
Well, I've got 7 of them, so if that was the topic, and you'll hear some of them at LA Riot Fest when I'm roasting Olivia Grace.
Oh yeah.
But that's another topic.
But yeah, what's hard about the show too is you don't have a built-in closer, that go-to bit that you know is going to do well to get you off the stage. So a lot of times comedians aren't used to that, so they'll keep wanting to ask for suggestions, and eventually they're like, all right, I guess that's my time. But the people who I usually book on the show, I try to book people who I've seen a lot and that I really enjoy watching their comedy. Because I feel like it's kind of representing what I like, and I'm trying to put out as good a show as possible. So people usually do really well, like surprisingly well, with the topics that they're given.
I would say it's my favorite show to do, and along with Troy Conrad's set list, which is, have you ever done that show?
Yeah, I have.
It's very not similar idea, but it forces you to think on your feet, because he'll just put up 3 random words on a screen that might be just literally 7 letters of the alphabet.
Yeah, the difference between our shows is with set list, it's things that have never appeared on a set list before. So it's a lot of times I would find a little bit more zany suggestions.
Yes,
because coming from an audience, people yelling stuff out, the stuff that's on their head, a lot of times it's topical or pop culture or something that is in the news, or just a random word. And I think with set list is like, a little bit more zany because it's never appeared on a set list before. So it's like Nazi apocalypse or something like that.
I think Troy was trying to, see how Daddy thought on his feet, and gave me like Sandusky milk bottle, like. And then I went into like 5 minutes on loads in a basement.
Bet you crushed it.
I mean, no, I didn't, to be honest with you. I had to follow Rick Overton, who's like that's the intimidating thing about this business to me is like, and I know he's a star, but like he should be like, like when you see the comics who are big now, it's like, why isn't Rick Overton like that big?
Mm-hmm.
He's just amazing. So, I love being on shows like that with someone like him or like Hannibal.
It pushes you to be better, man.
You're like, wow, I'm not that funny.
I was on a show just on Saturday where I had to follow Harlan Williams, then Judah Friedlander. I got bumped twice, and I was like, well, those are good people to be bumped by. It was Harlan, then Judah, then me.
Yeah. And those are two amazing comics.
They're awesome. Yeah.
So it's like... I used to not like following funny people. It's tough,
I feel like it's almost a safety net because if you do well after you follow somebody who's like a big name and really funny, then everybody's singing your praises.
Yeah.
And then if you bomb, you're like, well, I had to follow that huge name. So and people don't expect you to do well a lot of times.
I mean, I had to follow Theo Von a couple weeks ago at the Venice Underground. Very fun show to do.
Yeah.
And he killed like for 15 minutes. Killed. And then I struggled a little bit, but it was like great to like follow someone who did that well. And I used to love following someone who bombed because I thought, in my mind, well, they're going to love me right out of the gate.
Right.
But I found it's almost the opposite because they're in such a lull from someone.
They lose faith in the show almost.
Yeah. So you just got to spend, if you're doing, say, 10 minutes, 3 minutes just to get them back, and then another 3 minutes to warm up to you. And then when you're starting to find a groove, it's like, bring up the next act. Suck it. Suck it hard. But, you've also got, you're not just doing stand-up, which is what I like about you. You got your fingers in all kinds of cookie jars, which incidentally was Mitzi's nickname for Tommy, cookie jar.
I found that out recently, yeah.
It's probably the creepiest thing I've ever had to see on Inappropriate Earl was Tommy doing his Mitzi impression.
Cookie jar.
Like, all right, man, it's time we'll save the rest for part 3, Tommy. I'll see you on the internet. That's what's the weirdest thing about him. He has no internet.
Yeah.
So there's no social media. I'm like, hey, like you'll see in a couple minutes when we wrap up. I'm like, hey, give us your, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, your movie we'll talk about in a second. What's that website? I'm like, Tommy, give us your social media, sites. He's like, can I give out my phone number? I'm like, what?
You're like, huh? You're going to get a lot of phone calls if you do that. A lot of phone
calls from a lot of bitter people. But you also were recently in a movie.
Yeah.
Betting on Baker.
Yeah, that's actually going to come out in 2016. And
where can people like Netflix or theaters?
We don't know yet. They're talking to they're in talks right now of where it's going to go. So that one hasn't come out yet, but that was directed by Ryan Ederer, produced by Reza Riazzi, and
Mike Piazza directed that.
Reza Riazzi.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you meant the baseball.
Mike Piazza. What the fuck? And Yasser Lester, our buddy, is actually Yasser in that. Yeah, he's so in funny. It too. He's one of the. It's me and a couple other guys are friends of this dude who. Basically, the premise of the movie is this guy has to sleep with all the girls he grew up with, grades 1 through 12, in one summer. Otherwise, he loses dad's company, loses the deed to his house, all this stuff. And so they're betting on Baker that he can pork all these girls.
They're probably all cunts and they'll cheat on him, but that's the part 2.
Yeah.
Betting on Baker too. Cons.
But you'll appreciate this because this was actually I know you're good buddies with Roddy. This is Roddy Piper's last film that he did.
Well, if I can give you a advice on how to market a film, I don't care how small his part was. Put his name first in the credits and the biggest block letters on the billboards.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's literally in one scene.
Doesn't matter. Make it seem like he's in every scene. You want to move product?
Yeah.
You don't think I pumped that podcast he did out of Inappropriate or made it seem like I just recorded it? Welcome to Hollywood. Roddy would appreciate it. Yeah. I've had 2 podcast guests die, so they die in threes. It's crazy.
Yeah, him, Jake the Snake is in it. I know you're a big wrestling fan. Tommy Dreamer makes a cameo in it.
Tommy Dreamer from ECW. Hardcore legend. Jake the Snake Roberts, who's now doing DDP yoga, getting back in the game. He hit a rough patch there. I'm talking Patch Adams. I mean, he was... There's a great documentary, even if you... Because you're not like a huge wrestling fan.
No.
But you know, like
I enjoy it. Yeah, I know the big names, stuff like that. I used to play all the wrestling the video games growing up.
You're crazy.
Like yeah.
I mean, I just bought WWE, whatever it's called, 2016 for Xbox, and it's so realistic that 50 of the wrestlers died within the first 5 minutes of me turning the game on. I mean, wrestlers die. I mean, Rowdy lived to 61. Which in wrestling years is like living to 400, because they live the life of comics, but with working out, the incredible physical punishment. We take more mental punishment. Like, they take more physical punishment. And there's this, if you look
I have a good mix with me, mental and physical.
Well, you do physical comedy.
I do a lot of physical comedy. So yeah.
But, wrestlers,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you Google wrestlers who died before 50, literally put that in. There's like 200 names.
Wow.
And probably 70 of them, you're like, oh my God, he's dead. Or she. A lot of, Chris Benoit died, killed his whole family. And to show you that there's a silver lining in everything, at least we know his finishing move worked. But, I mean, where was the kids' tag team partner? Jesus Christ. Oh, see, that's what you call working in a bit into that. You fucking ham and eggers out there could learn a lot.
You could learn a thing or two from Earl Skakel. Working it in.
Just working it in, not being obvious about it. See, I acted like I cared what Jeremiah was getting into, and then I worked it in. No, I'm just kidding. Now, but you recently were in the sorry, I went to USC. The Big Sky Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. I mean, that's like one of the bigger, if not the biggest, American comedy festival.
Yeah, it's I actually didn't realize how big it was until I was there, kind of thing. Because I got in, I was like, oh, this is cool. And I knew a bunch of the people that got into it. So, and I was like, all right, yeah, these are all good names, whatever. But whenever I got there, that's whenever they really told us who all the industry that was there. And they had a lot of industry that they told us on the first day. They had VPs of casting from NBC and CBS. They had Richard, the booker from the Comedy Magic Club that was there. Charlie from South by Southwest. He's like the head of the comedy there. They had the Tonight Show booker. They had the Conan booker. And they had like commercial agents and a couple other people that I'm probably leaving out. But yeah, anyway, there's a lot of industry that was there. That was like good, legit industry, and it was cool. It was an awesome experience.
And you finished second, right?
I got second. Yeah,
it's a big deal.
I was really happy about that, man, because it's interesting. Because I do the only negative thing. I don't know if negative is the right word. The only thing that is sometimes hindering about having your hands in so many jars is sometimes people don't know what to label you as. So by me doing all these cool shows, it's been great to get my name out there in general. But a lot of times people don't know that I'm good at stand-up specifically, because with roast battle, you know, like you and I, like a lot of those audiences never see us do stand-up before the show.
Yeah,
They're just seeing us do that. And the same with like the comedy jam and even stand up on the spot. Those are all different forms of comedy, but they're not pure stand up. So it meant a lot to me that I got second in this particular thing this year, because it was, you know, kind of like a merit, like kind of like a badge to show like, oh no, this is me doing my thing for stand up. So I kind of felt like I had something to prove at that festival, and I was super happy I got second.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a problem with doing so many of these shows that aren't like necessarily stand-up based. Is I remember when I auditioned once for Montreal, and Dalia came up to me afterwards and said, "Dude, I didn't even know you did stand-up."
Right? It's like,
oh man, I didn't need to hear that. 12 years in the game, I got the biggest comic in the world telling me he doesn't even know I do it. Like, doing. Thank you for that kick in the nuts, Chris. But he meant it in a complimentary way.
Right.
But, you know,
right.
Listen, when he talks to me, I listen. You want to see palming.
I love how you live a street down from Palm Avenue.
I know. That's the greatest thing.
I laughed so hard whenever I was in my GPS. I was like, of course Earl lives a street down from Palm Avenue.
I'm in between Palm and Hancock, which literally the next street over is got the word cock in it, and I live in West Hollywood. So welcome to my neighborhood. I have to give directions from like the gay billboards in this area. Like, that's how I tell people where
drive
to go.
Past the condom billboard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Make a left at the Grinder, billboard, and I'm in between the two gay underwear store ads. And, once you drive by Hamburger Habit, and that's the place that has the sign, we squeeze it every day. The orange juice, that is. I mean, they've got some great signs in this neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Like Barney's Beanery used to have a sign. It's crazy. That said, as soon as you walked in, it said no fags allowed.
Wow.
It's great. I mean, it's like unbelievable. So it's almost as unbelievable as having a restaurant named Sambo's still in operation, but there's a Sambo's in Santa Barbara.
I did not know that.
I mean, the word Sambo, let's just say this, is not it's not a good word if you're of the African American race. And the fact that they have an operating restaurant, I mean, and no, I am not part owner. I'm a full-time owner. Now, before...
I just own stock in the company.
Yeah, I just own 70%. I'm voting for Trump. He'll keep it real. Get rid of the beaners.
Well, yeah. One other thing I'll say about Big Sky Comedy Festival, if you are a comedian who's listening to this, I would definitely apply for that festival, because I've done with all these shows that I'm involved in. I definitely got a lot of attention from this festival in particular, just more getting on people's radars, like the casting people and stuff like that. They had no idea I existed at NBC and CBS, because I haven't had like great agents or managers over the years who've really like put me in touch with that. So they're like, it's kind of like NBC told me, they're like, it's kind of ironic that you had to come to Montana for us to find out who you are when you live in Los Angeles. I was like, yep, that's just
that's
how it goes.
Thing. I mean, like, we have to go to Montreal to get in front of industry, or New York.
And we're in LA.
We're in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, it's like living next door to Dodger Stadium, but you got to go to Kansas City to see the Dodgers play. I mean, it makes no sense. It's insane. This business is driving me nuts. Literally nuts. I'm becoming a jar of Planters. Now, I was kicked out of the Groundlings. Thank you very much, Sean Hogan. Don't get mad at me because Hollywood didn't call you. It sounded like I'm the head of Hollywood and said, let's keep Sean Hogan out of it. But you also trained at the Groundlings.
Yeah, I've done the first couple levels there, which basically I can take the writing lab class, but this is the first time I've run into this with a true scheduling issue multiple times I've tried to take the writing lab class, and I keep going out of town for stand-up dates, and they're super strict where if you miss more than one class, then you can't they fail you basically. So I still need to take. I haven't taken the upper track there because it's scheduling wise it's been impossible. So, but as far as the improv schools go, like the improv that I've done around town, it made me better as an improviser, but it's probably my least favorite.
The Groundlings.
Yeah. Because the only reason why is because they always told me that I was going too big, in which to me, like that's kind of my that's kind of my thing.
Right.
Like you're telling me to keep in what everybody tells me is separating me from other people. It's like they're like play everything to a 10, but my 10 is like a 15 on their scale. So it's just kind of, I don't know. It's great. It's a great school, great establishment, blah, blah, for character work and all that stuff. But for me specifically, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought that I would.
I mean, I actually really enjoyed it because it made me a better, not actor, but gave me better skills outside of stand-up. It made my stand-up better. But I just found, at least when I was going there, it was just being taught by a bunch of bitter improv actors who didn't make it themselves, and so this was like their way to shit on people like, you know, I mean, me to a degree. It was like, well, we're gonna keep this guy down. That's like,
yeah,
it's like having a stand-up school taught by comics who never made it.
I mean, I had to repeat the first level, and that was after I had done 5 or 6 years of improv already. So that I took that pretty hard, but I retook it and passed the second time, and then I passed the second level. But it was kind of a wake up call, which is always good whenever you're kind of you're checked back in line, like, hey, you're not as hot as you think you are, or whatever. It's super humbling when things like that happen where you think you're farther along than you actually are, and then you're like, oh well, I need to work a little bit harder, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's but I mean I find at least with stand up, you know, you follow someone like, you know, Joey Diaz or Ian Edwards, or, you know, it makes you work harder because you realize, wow, I'm not the funniest guy out there, or girl.
Oh yeah.
But you know, with the Groundlings, I just was like, well, if I'm one of the better improvers, at least to get on the level too. I mean, it just seemed to be almost like a Tommy like mind melt.
Well, there's with Groundlings, it's and with UCB and some of those places, it's super political, just like the Comedy Store. If we were going to see shows at the Groundlings and hanging out there more, you better believe that we would have an easier time of getting up through the system better. And I've heard a lot of times like your name would mysteriously move up faster on the wait list and all that stuff if you put in more time. So it's just kind of every club is kind of political in their own way. You have to try to divide up your time or go all in at wherever to see where you can further yourself along, I feel like.
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's, you know, if I can get one thing out during this podcast, is don't hang your hat in one club or
very true.
One you got to be really like Jeremiah. Like he's literally on 3 shows right now. He's got his own podcast. Where can people find that? SoundCloud.com/thebuildingyears or The Building Years on iTunes. And it's a really great idea for a podcast that talks about the, you know, the struggles and you know, your life as you're building your act. And there's a lot of great guests on it. And a fabulous co-host named Pato Bonton. Just skip right through his parts. I mean, that guy's to comedy what Charlie Sheen was to safe sex. Real Gary Gladhander, that kid. And what would you say the difference was between the, because I never took Second City, like Second City, UCB, and the Groundlings? Is there like 3 big improv schools? It's kind of like Nike, Adidas, and Reebok, I would imagine.
Yeah, and iOS is like a I'd say like a New Balance kind of thing, where it's like they're great.
A real pony.
Or pony, yeah. So Groundlings is super character based. UCB is all about the game. It's all about being clever. They don't really care as much about space work or object work or whatever you want to call it. And Second City, it's improv through relationships and then improvising and re-improvising until you have a sketch. So that's how they come up with a lot. I did the conservatory program at Second City, and basically how we came up with our sketch shows, we start off with with a suggestion, and then we would mold it. We would improvise a scene, and then we would be like, all right, what can be funnier if we were to go and re-improvise a scene? So you have like the beats of the scene, and then you keep re-improvising until it's like a polished sketch, which is pretty crazy, which that's originally where I started doing stand-up on the spot. The improvised stand-up show was at Second City, and that's kind of where I got that idea, was suggestions from the audience. It's purely improv.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of moving parts.
It's a lot, yeah. And a lot of times what they would do for the Second City main stage or Second City ETC or Torco or whatever, after they would re-improvise it over and over, there would never be a script. The only script that they would do, that they would have, would be is they would record it on video or with audio, and then they would transcribe what they actually said. And that's the only scripts that they had, which is pretty fascinating.
Oh, wow. That's way too deep for me. I'm probably better that I got kicked out of the Groundlings. Now, I did a show last night I think you would be perfect for. Steven Randolph's. Have you done his show?
Yeah, it's a great show.
Basically, what you do is as the stand-up, you do your act, and then an improv group does, I guess we just call a sketch based on your stand-up.
They improvise. Instead of using a suggestion from the audience, they use beats from your stand-up to improvise off of and riff off of.
Which was fascinating for me. And me being kind of the dick that I am, I did all gay jokes. So I was forcing the improv groups to like mimic blowjobs in theaters and steam rooms. And, I have a real sick sense of humor, if you haven't guessed already. Well, Jeremiah, you really are one of the great young guns of comedy. And I mean that sincerely for once in my life.
Oh, thanks, man.
Regular host at Potluck, yes?
Potluck or late night? Yeah, every once in a while, yeah.
Potluck at late night is Monday nights at the Comedy Store, where basically 15 comics trying to break into the Comedy Store get to go on, and then you have all the employees get to go on. And if you don't know this, all the employees at the Comedy Store are comics, and there's some really, really funny comics. And then after that, the paid regulars come in, and then after midnight, it's like the bar in Star Wars. I think Greedo gets to pop in and do a set.
I gotta share this story.
Please do.
If we have time, I gotta share that story of the time where I filled in for late night. And so I'll sometimes fill in for Fraser for late night. And one time Fraser was out of town and Don Barris was out of town. So it's one of those rare occurrences where they're like, just host the rest of the night. And basically this woman that was in the audience, and this was one of the first times that Earl told me after I got done hosting, he was like, dude, that was one of the better late nights I've seen here in a while. And I take that as high praise from Earl. He's seen many late nights. So basically, long story short.
No, dude, don't. Dude, we're not like a sitcom here. We don't have a hard out.
Okay. I don't know how it started, but there's this lady that was visiting the audience that I was doing crowd work with. She was getting drunk and kind of obnoxious with the comics. And she would kind of chime in people's sets. So I started kind of talking to her. I was like, just talk to me during whenever I'm hosting, but don't interrupt the comics that are coming up here. They're trying to work out their jokes and stuff like that. So I don't know how it came about, but I made a joke that she had a fat pussy, which, for late night, is perfect for the comics in the back.
It's like a warm-up joke.
Yeah, exactly. So I was joking she had a fat pussy, and she's like, no, I don't, blah, blah. And I was like, well, the only way, the only way that we're going to believe you is if you get up here and show the crowd. And she keeps like saying, no. Well, she's like, well, I don't know any of you, so maybe I should. I was like, well, maybe you should. So as I'm bringing up comics in between, every time I'm going up, I'm pushing her closer and closer to the edge of this. And so she ends up coming up on stage, and I do a countdown. She's up on stage. She's like, am I really going to do this? I'm like, yes. I go, 10, 9, 8. We do the full countdown. 3, 2, 1. Fat pussy. And she did it. She pulled up, she hiked up her skirt and showed the audience, and Earl from the back goes, oh, is that the number 2 from Arby's? Oh.
That was Jeremiah, by the way, talking.
Yeah. That's my Earl impression. And so as the night goes on, it keeps getting later and later, and I was like, well, you showed us your fat pussy, which it was. It was.
Oh,
it ended up being really gross. We're like, you got to show the crowd your boobs. You just got to do it. And she's like, fine. So I do the countdown again. 3, 2, 1. She shows her boobs, and then Earl goes, oh, did somebody order some flapjacks?
Yeah, I mean, just girls. I mean, Pancake City.
So then after that, and by the way, the audience is going nuts. The comics that are in the back, we're all howling, going crazy. It's stupid. The inmates are running the asylum at this point. And then, I'm talking to her after. I have one last comic to bring up, and I go, you know what? You've shown your vagina, your boobs to the audience. The only thing left is to show your butthole to this audience. And people in the back are like, I have comics that start coming in from the back. They're like, he's not going to be able to get this done. There's no way. And she comes up on stage after we're going back and forth, joking around and stuff. And I do the countdown again. 3, 2, 1. Butthole. And she spread her cheeks and she showed the crowd her butthole, and Earl's like, oh, that looks better than her vagina.
Yeah, probably cleaner.
And I fell to the ground immediately and started crying, laughing, because I could not believe what just happened. And this was one of those examples of the weird magic nights that can go on in the original room at the Comedy Store, where it's just madness, insane, and you can't even describe to people the energy that is in there at some points.
Yeah, because it's great with you because you're so clean, like cut and happy, go lucky, that someone like you would even think, I'm going to get this girl to show her pussy and her nasty titties and her butthole, which looked like that thing the Millennium Falcon flew out of, and I think Return of the Jedi. But that's the magic of the Comedy Store, and I guess that goes back to what we spoke about in the beginning. That's why everyone wants to be in at the store, because the improv's awesome.
Oh, if I would have done that, if we would have done that at the Improv or Laugh Factory, I would have got banned.
You never get a spot there again.
I'd never get a spot there again.
If you did that in front of Richard at Hermosa to get an audience member at the Hermosa Magic Club, which is, one of the top run clubs in the world, not just the city, but just, it's like unbelievable. Richard would, ban you from like ever coming into Manhattan Beach again. So that's, the Comedy Store. You'll
have management that are howling and watching along with the other audience members. I've seen it so many times.
I remember the time, and this is, I think, probably right before you started coming up there, Ari Shaffir and Dan Madonia were having an argument about who had the biggest dick, and there's a porn star in the crowd. I should say actress. Star's a loose term in that world. That said, well, why don't you guys go on stage and we'll see. And so they go on stage, take their pants off, and she starts blowing them. Like, I don't know what crime was being committed, but I'm sure the health department would have loved to get the chicken tenders after this was breaking out. And both managers at the time, who aren't there anymore, which probably this story is a good indicator as to why not, were sitting there laughing. It's just craziness at the store. But you'll be in there sooner than later. And, it's just, you're on the fast track, man. And, you're, it really should be the role model to a lot of comics who, do get better or whatever. Like, you don't get it once, you're going to get it the next time. And in between, you're going to do 5 things that are making you more marketable, not just to the comedy store, but, to the industry and in general. So this podcast has really more been about how you should do things. So I hope you comics listening, like Rob Schneider told me and like Jeremiah is doing, make your own shit and become so good they can't deny you. And in 15 years, you can get past too. Yeah. Suck it. Suck it out there. You think you guys can do a better podcast than me? Well, let me tell you what you do. You buy a couple grand worth of gear. You get Ari Manis to come over and hook up all the wires. And then you get 80s metal guests to come on your couch. You'd quit after about 2 episodes. So suck it. You think you can do a better job at the Negro Wave than Jeremiah? Well, I tell you what, you get a couple blacks and Mexicans, you be white, and then you do the Negro Wave one time. I would love for one time, and I know all you jackals in the back come every week to Roast Battle, think, that Negro Wave, that doesn't look so hard. They just use props and run around, take their shirts off. That haters table, they just talk shit. Well, one week I would love for about 8 of you, 4 of you take the Negro Wave section, 4 of you take the haters table, and you'll tap out after the fucking first joke on the undercard. Suck it. Sorry, I got too real there. Jeremiah, where can people find you on I want to give out all your websites, movie websites, jeremiahwatkins.tv.
Yeah, jeremiahwatkins.tv, sketches, videos, all that stuff. If you go there, that's where you can find everything. But soundcloud.com/thebuildingyears is the podcast that Earl and I were talking about earlier with Justin Alexio, his favorite co-host. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Jeremiah Standup, and everything else is like on youtube.com/JeremiahWatkins. Bunch of stuff on my website if you are interested.
Yeah, his website actually, jeremiahwatkins.tv, is really good. I mean, it's my website looked like it was something off of GeoCities, made on a CompuServe with a 14.4 modem. By the way, if you go to earlskakel.com, it's some gay guy's beauty advice column. It's not mine. I moved on. Are you on Instagram?
Yeah, at Jeremiah Standup.
Okay, so just everything's at Jeremiah Standup. And Jeremiah's one of my good friends. He's what they call in the industry a real up-and-comer, a real schvutz. That's a Jew talk for a good guy. So please follow him. Go to a stand-up show, Stand Up on the Spots. It was a super fun show. And it's at different clubs, right?
No, we're just at the Comedy Store, and that's at standuponthespot.com. That's our new home. We'll be there for a while. And cool thing that happened with that a little while ago. A few months ago, we got named by GQ as one of 5 funniest nights in America. So it was really cool. And
it really is a fascinating show. It's like you see like Joe Rogan having to, here's a guy who has literally hours of material, but he has to like a beginning comic think on his feet.
Yeah.
And you'd think that people would yell out like a UFC term just to get him but no, it's, Joe, I don't know, cotton candy.
Yeah. That's the best compliment to the show actually is when I have guys like Joe, they'll tell me, they're like, hey man, something that I improvised on your show is one of the bits that's working in my act right now. That's the coolest thing that people can tell me.
Yeah,
like Dean Del Rey's gotten material from it. A bunch of guys.
And you've gone the road a lot with Dean, right?
Yeah.
And Dean's a great comic. And he's probably the guy who got me into podcasting. And so if you see Dean, odds are you might see Jeremiah. I think probably one of the funnest road gigs I ever did was with you, Dean, and Bronson Jones.
Oh, man, that was so fun. We went up to San Francisco, and Earl turned up the racist character to another degree.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to do when you're driving up the 5. I mean, I saw one black person in a 7-hour drive, and he was on the way to the courthouse. Hey!
We made that trip. We did San Francisco. We went there and we drove back the same night.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, you look on a map
Oh,
and you think, oh, wow, L.A., San Francisco, they're pretty close together on the map. And it's at least a 7-hour drive.
yeah, 6-7 hour drive for sure.
And, so we drive up there, 7-hour drive. I think we got something to eat real fast, did the show, went right back. But we're all good for, you can only do that with 4 friends who like each other, and there's no way you could do that drive with people you don't like. And I mean, that's one of the fun things about doing the road to a degree is like, you and I are good friends, but like we don't know a lot about each other, like because we're busy doing shows, and it's not like we go to the movies and play with our puds.
Yeah, I mean, I try to invite Earl over to my birthday. There's no pussy there.
You want me at a birthday party? There's better be some
tuna,
cash
some
there.
live tuna.
Last thing I want to do is you and 8 Comedy Store employees and our 3 buddies, talking about smoking weed with Pato Bonton in the back of Marty's. I think I just jacked off and fell asleep. But thank you for the invite. So, guys, Jeremiah Watkins, the Building Years podcast, stand up on the spot, roast battle every Tuesday night, goddamn comedy jam Monday nights. Where's that?
At the Lyric
Theater, which is where, Hollywood?
Yeah, Hollywood on La Brea.
And it's an amazing show. It really is. If you're a music fan or a comedy fan, you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And it's the band, the backing band is something we didn't get into, are all top flight musicians.
Oh yeah, they're all pros.
So it's not like it's just 7 comics.
No, it's not like a jam session, even though jam is in the name. They're like professional musicians that have everything down to a T.
Yeah, like, I remember in Montreal joking around with the short guy with the hat.
Jay Golden?
Jay Golden, yeah. Like, you think you could do a Rat song? And he like instantly knew the lyric, like the not the lyric, but like the melody of it.
Yeah, he's an amazing electric violinist.
Yeah, so it's really to see A-level comics performing with an A-level band and great hosts and Jeremiah and Johnny Skirtis and Josh Adam Myers. It's an amazing show. So maybe one day I'll. Of course, I'd be the only guy to do it and play like a Vinnie Vincent Invasion song, a song nobody in the room knew. Hey, guys, why don't you start Boys Are Gonna Rock? I'll take it from here. So just Jeremiah is one of the good ones, guys, and thank you for the listens. This has been refreshing after my 4-hour mind melt podcast with Tommy. Boy, I mean, it was tough. I'd rather watch that Jay Mandia movie again. Boy, if you haven't seen that movie, go on YouTube and watch the Hollywood Shuffle. If you don't do drugs, you'll feel like you did after that movie. But I will give Jay Mandiam this.
He made his own feature film.
Let me tell you something right now. He made his own feature film, and this was not a cheap film to do.
No.
I don't know how much it cost, but
he got some major funds together to make this.
I would say, I'm guessing, to do a self film, I'm guessing anywhere from 25 to 50 grand.
I might even say more than that, but who knows?
I mean, it seemed like a lot of the actors were family members.
Right. True.
But they had different locations, and it was basically based on the Hollywood Shuffle, which is a movie by Robert Townsend, and it's a great story behind it. He financed it on 6 of his credit cards, and he had some of the top comics in it, like Keenan Ivory Wayans, Robert Townsend, Franklin Ajayi, who's like, you got to feel sorry for a guy like Franklin Ajayi. Here's a guy who is an amazing comic, but he just happened to be a black comic growing up when Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy were popping.
Yeah.
So it's just like there was only room for 2 of them. But check out the Hollywood Shuffle, not Bollywood Shuffle. It's the like Muhammad Ali Shuffle. It's I tell you, do some cocaine and you'll level out. Jeremiah Watkins, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me, Earl. Love you, man.
Love you. This has been Inappropriate Earl on iTunes and SoundClouds. Why don't you ungrateful fucks leave a review? I mean, I got every episode gets 3,000 or 4,000 downloads. I ask for one thing from you jackals, which is to leave a review on iTunes. And, most of you don't do it. And tweet at Gene Simmons to get on this podcast. About 4 of you do it. Imagine if all thousands of you did it. Trying to make daddy some scratch. Do it. Sing it. Don't bring it. Ooh.